Wait a minute, young man. You don't speak to us like that. If you don't like the food, you can say no thank you, or you can say I don't like this, but you don't just shove it away like that. That's really rude, okay? Right, so is that the way you'd respond? I think that's the way probably most parents would respond. But let's see how the Scottish Government thinks you should respond.
If you're finding it tough to feed your fussy eater, try picnic plates, as giving them a choice of different foods can help them to try new things. For more tips and recipes, visit parentclub.scot.
So the official line from the Scottish Government, it's actually the parents who are doing something wrong. They need to make the food nicer. If they'd done their job properly, then it wouldn't have been rude in the first place. So we don't need to deal with the rudeness. Who cares about that? That doesn't matter. All that matters is keeping the kid happy and eating his greens. Well, welcome to Parent Club, the Scottish Government's information service for parents to educate them.
If your little shop always turns into a big strop, try Bargain Hunt, as asking them to find items less than £1 on your list can help keep them entertained.
Let's see here, the same idea. The kid's being stroppy because she doesn't get what she wants. That's a character flaw, that's fine, she's just a kid. But with kids you have to help them to learn, and you point out that behaving like that when you don't get what you want isn't really on. The Scottish Government doesn't care about that. They think you just need a technique to avoid the situation arising. Okay, that's fair enough, techniques like that can be helpful. But on the other hand, if a kid is being badly behaved, you're not going to solve that by just having better tricks to avoid the situation. They need to learn to behave, and that needs to be addressed head on.
To put a halt to their after-school hyperness,
I think at this point I'd suggest send them outside to play football.
try apple muffin making, as following a recipe together is a fun way to keep them entertained. For more tips and recipes, visit parentclub.scot.
But no, the solution is to make cakes. If you look at the Scottish Government's parenting advice, it's very food obsessed. Like cooking, it's as if that's the favourite activity of every child that ever was. There's no suggestion they might do together anything that maybe a dad might more typically do. There's just this huge emphasis on food and cooking. So the Scottish Government has spent thousands of pounds of our pounds to make videos teaching how to poach eggs, as though there weren't already a zillion videos on YouTube covering exactly that same thing. But it seems the government had a few £1,000s left after making that last video, so they made another one to teach parents how to play I Spy. Again, on YouTube, obviously there's a zillion videos about good ideas what to do with kids, but the Scottish Government thinks it has to be its own brand advice that goes through. Right, what's the problem with this? I mean, the first problem's obvious. I mean, number one, it's a waste of money. Number two, this parent club is always promoting a very progressive parenting style, just like they are in schools, and it's driven by children's charities and the Children's Rights Brigade. But it's very much the standard parenting approach that's been pushed onto all parents. And number three, the other problem is the Scottish Government thinks it's got a role in telling you how to bring up your kids properly. They think we know best. The idea is that the government needs to help break the cycle. Because the cycle is that grandparents were obviously terrible parents, because they were so unenlightened and old-fashioned in those days, that the last thing we want is current parents taking any advice from grandparents. So instead, the government needs to come in with this new, fresh, modern, revolutionary method and follow that instead of the wisdom of their family.
Early learning and childcare entitlement is increasing. But by how much? Well, she now gets this much more time to help boost her confidence. He now gets this much more time to play and learn outside. And he now gets this much more time to make new friends, with this much more time with highly experienced caring staff. Meaning parents now have this much more time to get stuff done.
Well, that puts it in a nutshell, doesn't it? The government assumes that all parents have got more important stuff to be done, more important than spending time with their own kids. Assumption number one, parents would rather be doing something else, anything really, rather than nurturing and caring for their own young children. And assumption number two, nursery is a better environment for kids to develop than being at home with mum and dad. And because of that, they're doubling the childcare hours available to 3 and 4-year-olds. And they think they're helping kids and they think they're helping parents. And in the Scottish Parliament, no one disputes it. So they're doubling the nursery hours available from just a morning to a morning and afternoon. If you don't want your 3-year-old in nursery basically all day, our policy is you should be able to choose to take cash instead for half of the day. Now, I was saying in a recent video, John Swinney on education, I've never heard him come out with an original thought. He's just absorbed the philosophy of the Scottish educational establishment and he just echoes it back to them. It's the same on this. The lack of original thought in the Scottish Parliament is depressing. You just hear the same lines endlessly recycled, repeated again and again and again. Nothing ever comes in that's original or challenges the consensus, and that's very much on the case on this issue. Now, when the Scottish Parliament was built, there were these strange things sticking out of the side of it, and they were think pods, I think they were called. So each MSP has a space where they could be alone to think for themselves. Well, it was a nice idea.